What's up, Go community? This is Scott with the Gaming Outsider. On this week's episode, we debate which is more important to us, frame rate or high-quality graphics. In news, we also discuss the Microsoft Xbox Games Showcase, the possible return of G4 TV, as well as a new game from the creators of Suikoden. We've got lots of new games we talked about this week as well, including Neon Abyss, Maid of Sker, Destroy All Humans remake, Heroes of Hammerwatch, NASCAR Heat 5, and the guys talk a little bit more of Ghost of Tsushima. It sure is good to be back. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 305 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, July 27th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my friends, Zach Parkerson.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. And Chris Behrensmeyer.
Hola, senor.
How's it going, guys? It's good to be back. It's been a while. I feel like I haven't sat down and talked to you guys about video games in 2 weeks or something.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, I hosted the show. I think everybody's saying it's the best show. I'm hearing it from everybody out there.
I believe it. I listened to it. It was very weird sitting back hearing theme song and not hearing me go, greetings programs. But it was good.
I didn't know if I was stepping on your thunder saying greetings programs, but it just felt right. So.
Oh yeah, dude. It's me stepping on Tron's toes. So hey, what are you gonna do?
I will openly admit we had a long conversation on whether or not just to call it like, we are the Gaming Outsider, because there was no Scott Clark.
I feel like there were still plenty of jokes at Scott's expense though. Last week,
yes, there were. Did you guys see I started a Culver's while I was on vacation?
Yeah.
I posted a picture. There's a Culver's up in Wisconsin that is owned and operated by a Scott Clark. So I posted a screenshot of it because I thought it was funny, and a lot of people thought it was actually me that opened up this Culver's, and no, it was I just have a very common name. And then it wasn't on Twitter, but on Facebook, people started showing me other Scott Clarks. There's a Scott Clark Toyota in North Carolina. There's a Scott Clark. There's a couple insurance agents named Scott Clark up in Wisconsin. And something else, I can't remember what it was, but apparently there are lots of business owners out there by the name of Scott Clark. So,
and here you are.
You're telling me is you've got a really sleazy name.
Apparently. I mean, hey, if the shoe fits, right?
Hey, at least it's a common name. Good luck finding another one of me.
Isn't Scott Clark also the name of the teacher on Stranger Things?
Yes, the teacher's name on Stranger Things is Scott Clark.
Yeah.
They introduced him as that on the first episode, and then I feel like his name is actually never mentioned other than Mr. Clark until season 2 or 3.
Because that's what I call you in private, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark. CB, you will be happy to know I am one NES game closer to completing my US NES collection.
Oh, what'd you get?
I bought a very expensive game called Cowboy Kid, which I know you're keenly aware of because you own a complete set already. I've never played it. I don't know anything about it, but I know what it's worth and what I paid for it. And I think I got a fair price for it. But it set me back. I'm going to have to... I spent all my wood shopping money. I've split a lot of wood this summer and sold a lot of firewood, and that has paid for it. So, it's going to take a lot more chopping to finish this thing off. But I'm down to 80. Only 80 more games.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's a bad game.
Is it? Somebody posted on Facebook and said it was actually a good game.
No.
But I don't know anything about it. Lots of comments about the box art looking very homoerotic, which I never thought that once, and now I can't unsee it, unfortunately. Oh, I did something else fun this weekend. I was sitting around watching TV and I wanted to do something. We have a channel on our Discord all about like food and recipes and all that. And we all kind of like share different things that we're eating and what's working. And I said, you know what? Let's make a Gaming Outsider recipe book. So I actually made a Google Doc and I put like a table of contents and title pages for each of the different categories and stuff, and added a bunch of my favorite recipes, and I'm inviting everybody to submit their own if they would like it to be added. It's nothing that's going to be published, just shared amongst the community, so I would like to see.
Is your chicken tikka masala on there?
It's not, but the part of the reason is that my chicken tikka masala is just a jar of tikka masala sauce that I buy at Aldi. So it's not really a recipe.
Have you started marinating your chicken in yogurt yet?
I have not. We haven't had it since that discussion, if you'd believe it.
Oh, okay. Wow. I love Indian food.
I bought a new meat tenderizer. I am very excited about that. I know it sounds like a silly thing to get excited about, but I love to marinate stuff. And I got a new grill coming on Wednesday. This meat tenderizer has like 46 needles that puncture the meat. You actually put this thing down and mash it down, and it puts all of them, just like stabs the meat in all these different locations.
I've really determined that your final form is Martha Stewart.
Between that and the delicious jams and jellies.
And the sewing.
And the what else did I learn? I learned a lot of skills this summer, which is weird, but hey, it's working. It's working. I have been sewing like a madman. I put up some new masks. I got Dr. Mario themed ones now. I got Minecraft themed ones, and plenty more coming. The Mortal Kombat ones are coming, guys. I promise. I'm not putting it off intentionally. I just keep getting busy. So, oh, by the way, this is our last opportunity to ask you guys before the end of the month. And I'll probably put a post up, but we are trying to get nominated for the podcast awards. So if you could do us a favor and head over to the link that's in the show notes for this episode, or just go to podcastawards.com, and we are in the games and hobbies category, and we would love to get your nomination because we would really like to win this thing one time. We've been nominated, but I would love to win it. Also, I did our drawing today for our July game giveaway. A copy of Paper Mario, the Origami King, which you guys heard me talk about last week, pre-recorded. And Nick Sigmeyer won the game. He's actually a local guy. He's won previously, so he's another one of those lucky ones that has won multiple times as well. Also, stay tuned on Facebook and Twitter and Discord. We're going to start a community game night again in the very near future. I think we're looking at the weekend of the 22nd of August. We don't know what we're going to play yet. We're just going to get a bunch of people together on Discord and just get out there and play some games together. And I'd like to just hop on and play some Borderlands with some people as well. But yeah, looking very much forward to that. Let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. All right, the big news of the week is Microsoft's Xbox Games Showcase. Lots of games to run through there. Also, G4 may be making a comeback. We saw a little bit of a tease there. We got a new game from the makers of the Suikoden series, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Ayuden Chronicle? 100 Heroes. And then lastly, we got the PlayStation Plus giveaways for the month of August. Where do you guys want to start?
Should we talk? I mean, shouldn't we just talk about the big thing in the room? No.
The big thing in the elephant in the room. Is that the phrase you're looking for?
No, some kind of other the woolly mammoth in the room. I think it's the expression.
The woolly mammoth in the room. Yes. I assume you're talking about the Microsoft Xbox Games Showcase.
Oh,
which was on Thursday.
No, that's forgettable. I'm talking about G4.
Oh, G4. You want to talk about G4? Okay. Let's start there for sure. There was a random video that popped up on Twitter. At least that's where I saw it the first time. It was posted by the XPlay account, which I haven't seen XPlay post anything in quite a long time, or at least maybe I missed it. And the video was also posted by the Attack of the Show account on Facebook, and the title of the video is "We Never Stopped Playing," and it heavily hinted that the G4 in some fashion would be returning, but we have not yet heard anything. Any speculation from you guys as to what that might mean?
My immediate thought is YouTube series, right? And you could, I don't know who you could get back though.
I mean, Kevin Pereira has been doing a podcast, right? Or at least it was a year or two ago.
Kevin Pereira's good, and I remember he and Olivia Munn earlier this year talked about like, man, wouldn't it be great if we could get Attack of the Show going again?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a little hope there. Because my realistic expectation is just the back catalog of shows and programs. But
it's sad to say it, but I would go back and watch some of those. I think
not
just for
only
the nostalgia factor.
I feel like there's an untapped market of fools like us out. We're like, I'll pay $5 a month for G4's catalog. There are 1,500. Yeah. There are over 1,500 episodes of X-Play.
Are there really?
Yes, because it was a daily show.
I could just kind of have that on in the background and just pay attention when I want to.
What I'm saying, man, just put on that playlist. Like that's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
That show was so great.
X-Play was the show I preferred, but I always liked Kevin Pereira better. I didn't like Attack of the Show as much as X-Play, but I liked him. I do like Adam Sessler, but actually Adam Sessler and Morgan together were great.
Yes, Morgan Webb, by the way, had the best response to this situation.
I didn't see it. What did she say?
She just said, "I'm just impressed somebody remembered the Twitter password."
So basically, she's saying that that account hasn't been touched in quite a while.
Yeah,
isn't she working for a developer now?
Yeah, she's a game developer now. Bonfire Studios, I think, is the name.
But I don't recognize the name in terms of what games have they made.
They have not made any games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they were founded like 3 years ago with some kind of message of bringing gamers together, and then we haven't heard anything since.
Okay.
And then Adam Sessler,
that's why I haven't heard it.
Adam Sessler, I feel like his fingers are in a million different pies, and then sometimes not in any pies at all. He also just kind of seems like he may have gone a little off the rails.
Yeah, if you follow him on Twitter, I feel like he's not ready to get back into games journalism in any capacity. I get he seems very fed up with people. People. Definitely entertainment.
Kevin Pereira, though, seems gung-ho, as is Tommy Tellerico, Victor Lucas of Judgment Day, and Electric Playground.
I forgot about Judgment Day. That one was good, too.
Those guys would be amazing to see. I think Electric Playground actually still is going on YouTube with Victor Lucas.
Okay. But see, the phrase, "we never stopped playing," that sounds to me like new series over giving us a subscription for the old catalog.
Do you think, though, new cast as well?
I mean, there would have to be some new cast, I would imagine, because not everybody's going to be available.
I know Xavier Woods is already out there campaigning to get the job of the new X-Play host.
I'm sure Greg Miller will be considered, right?
That would be profoundly disappointing.
CB, what about you, man? I feel like you have thoughts, but
my brain is run like a mile a minute right now because just trying to think of where this would fall. Mm-hmm. With like the fact that streaming is becoming a big thing right now,
right?
Wouldn't it be interesting if they started like their own like sub-market in one or more streaming services, but the fact that there's a brand new streaming service starting up with the Facebook one since like Mixer went down.
Yeah, but I think Spotify is going to overtake that in the long run, because Spotify is starting to do a streaming service as well, and I feel like they're as big as Facebook is. I think that Spotify is more for the younger market, which is what they would want.
Understandable. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but it'd be interesting if they tied themselves to something like that. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm sitting here thinking about it more, like, you're going to want to get some of these streamers in. I think it's super weird, the timing, because now you have like certain streamers that are looking for a new home or something to do.
Like Dr. Disrespect?
Or Ninja.
He might not be the best for the brand.
No, probably not. But the fact that you have somebody like Ninja that's currently doesn't have a home for streaming, what a perfect person to bring in if you were going to talk about esports.
Right. But here's what I don't want, or let me rephrase it. Here's what I want. I want a highly produced show like we saw on X-Play and Attack of the Show and Electric Playground and what's the other, Judgment Day. I don't want these live feed situations like we've been getting for the press conferences. Those are fun for, brand new breaking stuff coming from Microsoft and coming from Ubisoft and coming from EA or whatever, fill in the blank. But for a show that I'm going to sit down and watch or have on in the background, I want it to be produced and pre-recorded. I don't want this live stuff and technical difficulties and poor audio. And I understand that we're in the middle of a pandemic and people are having to put up with what they can and do the best that they can. But I get so tired of the frozen Zoom conference calls and poor quality audio and all that.
Not only that, but I also want I want the studio setting with the camera, the camera dragging into the shot or whatever, and like, I don't want it to look like a YouTube show. No offense to YouTube, I watch plenty of YouTube stuff, but there's just something about the almost
in the studio,
like the daily talk show kind of setup they had or whatever,
And
that's what I would also want. I would want almost like 20 minutes a day. I know that's probably unfeasible, but and I guess X-Play, I feel like we may as well just set our expectations now that you're not going to get Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb back.
Right. That'd be awesome if we did.
Yeah, I think that would be killer if they did like even one show a week with just those two, because they are legend, as it were. I would run home every day after school to check out G4 and hope I got home in time for X-Play.
Right. And I'm not known for my hot takes, but I will say I was not a big fan of Olivia Munn on Attack of the Show.
She was so very pretty.
I agree wholeheartedly. It was really funny when she got into Hollywood, and I was like, "Have you seen Olivia Munn?" I'm like, "You mean the girl from G4?"
I know. I remember I had the same. I was like, the chick who cosplayed as Sailor Moon on G4,
right? And again, she's a very attractive person. She just always felt dialed into me, whereas Morgan Webb felt like she was there because she wanted to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Olivia Munn's definitely a nerd. There are stories on set of her trying to set the director straight on who Psylocke was for X-Men.
Oh, no, right. And trust me, I'm not one of those guys that says, "Oh, she's just a pretty girl, she can't know what she's talking." I'm not. That's not at all what I'm saying. Just the way that she portrayed herself on that show, it did not feel like she was as into it as Morgan was.
Yes, I you know what, I will agree, because even though I did like Olivia Munn, and I didn't hate her on the show, but it kind of felt like she was trying to. It felt like that was a gig. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it felt like a stepping stone for her Hollywood career to me,
and it worked out for her.
It did, and I'm very happy for her.
She's great. Big fan.
I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it if she were on or anything like that.
Yeah, of course, but
I would be watching it more for Kevin.
I was gonna say, it's kind of weird. I'm thinking about X-Play and how much I adore the show, but I almost feel like maybe it could survive with different hosts. Like a more modern crew or whatever.
As long as they say 4 stars.
You need the long pause. 100%. You need the long pause and the stupid skits, and probably Bob and Steve Splinter Cell Co-op Theater. But Attack of the Show, I just don't think could work without Kevin Pereira.
I don't think so either. I also felt like Attack of the Show wasn't just video games either. That was like a lot of tech stuff going on in there too, right?
Right, the remnants of tech TV.
Mm-hmm.
God, yeah, those were the days.
Hey. New blood could be a good thing.
What's that?
New blood could be a new thing.
As long as it's not Greg Miller, man. Greg Miller has his fingerprints over every single aspect of the gaming industry, and it's a little one note. I like the guy. I've met the guy. I've shaken hands with the guy in a pre-COVID-19 world. Super nice. Obviously great at what he does. I'm just saying, everybody hires him to be their host for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every panel has Greg Miller. It's like, all right, there are other voices.
Yeah,
there's some right here. Actually, I'd love to be a part of it.
Not only that, I'll do it for $5. I'll do it $5 a week. Hit me up.
$5 a week.
$5 a week. I'd do it for free.
Well, you can't.
Anyway,
I think they have to pay you legally.
Yeah, they got to pay you something, man.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on. CB, what story do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, clearly, the other large elephant in the room is the Xbox Showcase.
Yeah, I've been dreading talking about this because I feel like I'm in the minority of the fact that I didn't hate this presentation like the majority of the internet did.
Although I felt like I've saw a lot. How about that?
You say what?
Because I texted you immediately afterwards and said this thing sucked. But I'm a little softer now.
I don't get what sucked about it. Here's the thing. They did not have a Horizon Zero Dawn 2. They did not have a Spider-Man Miles Morales.
No.
But looking back in comparison to the PS5 reveal or their showcase, it felt like a very similar show to me outside of those two standouts.
I mean, Rift Apart looked great. There were a couple other like Kena, with the girl with the staff game, like that was the best game in that show for me. Like, there was definitely some exciting stuff with the PlayStation. You know what? There was stuff that you didn't know to expect. There was not a single surprise here.
There's nothing on here that in this list that you didn't already know was coming.
The most shocking announcement was Dragon Quest XI coming to Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Which actually was in the pre-show with Jeff Keighley. It wasn't even actually part of the proper show.
Which I did watch because they had incredible guests.
Mm-hmm. And that was a shock. That's the first time that Dragon Quest has come to a Microsoft console.
Yeah, that's why that was surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was huge.
I don't think anything.
But everything else you knew about? Balan Wonderworld?
You're right. Well, you're right. I did not know about Balan Wonderworld. It did not, however, excite me. I suppose.
Did we know about Everwild? Yeah, we knew about Everwild.
Everwild was announced, and I feel like you're waiting to tell me like Fable, but I feel didn't everybody know Fable's in development from Playground Games?
Yeah, Fable's coming, but also the rumors are that it's going to be an MMO.
That's the worst possible outcome.
Which makes me really sad. Nothing against MMOs. I don't have time for an MMO. Just give me another Fable 2, and I'd be completely happy.
Well, I mean, there's a few in there that like piqued my interest. I didn't know if they exist, like Exomecha.
It's the first time I had seen that one. I had not seen that before.
That piqued my interest a little, mostly because I like everything and all things mech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you what, the pre-show is actually pretty good. I'll tell you that.
I did like the pre-show better than the rest of the show. However, Avowed looks awesome. It looks like an Elder Scrolls game. It's made by Obsidian, right?
Deal.
Yep.
I'm in.
I don't know why more people are talking about that. Obsidian made a Fallout game, so they've got some Bethesda in their blood a little bit.
I think it's because it just felt like I saw Avowed get announced, and I was like, oh yeah, of course they would make that. It didn't get my blood pumping.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we have. Yeah, it didn't. I've played this. Do you know what I mean?
I get it, but at the same time, that's how I felt about the majority of Sony's presentation,
and you know what?
too.
Touche. That's fair there.
I mean, and I'm not saying this as an Xbox fanboy, although I would probably admit I prefer, you guys all know I prefer Xbox to
yes, of course.
But I got the same feeling from this that I did from the PS5 one outside of the two big ones that I mentioned, Miles Morales and Horizon Zero Dawn, which I can't remember the name of the new one.
Forbidden
Doesn't matter.
West.
I'm going to play it. Forbidden West.
Yes, it doesn't. Yeah. And I will say,
both of those games we knew were going to happen, right? They weren't like huge surprises. Like there wasn't going to be another Horizon Zero Dawn game.
I was definitely not expecting.
Wasn't going to be another.
I was not expecting a Miles Morales game.
Hey, by the way, I read an article today that said the Miles Morales game is going to come packed in with a up-res PS5 version of the original Spider-Man game with it, which is cool.
I feel like they kind of hinted towards that when they announced it.
Did they? Okay.
Because I saw it as well, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" I was like, I feel there was definitely an interview where they kind of hinted towards that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I was rooting for Xbox going into this thing. You know how much I've been talking up Phil Spencer, saying all the right things and Xbox and everything. It's just, don't get me wrong. I'm sure we'll get this thing, but
we'll get to that because I got a pretty what I feel is a relevant point. But Destiny 2 coming to Game Pass felt huge to me. I know that game is a couple years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've never played Destiny 2 because I'm not a big MMO guy. But now that I can go play it with my Game Pass and check it out and just dabble if I want to without having to worry about... Granted, I could get the game for like $20 at this point. But that's...
I think it was on sale for $5 one weekend.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, like it's.
I don't know, but this is coming with all the DLC and everything.
Yeah, that's super cool. The DLC is all included.
Yeah.
Well, and the main fact that all the games in the main show are coming to Game Pass is crazy.
And that's my next big point. Is so many people on the internet are out there saying this presentation did not do a good job of selling the Xbox Series X. And I felt like going into this presentation that the goal of this was not to sell the Xbox Series X. The goal of this was to sell Game Pass. And the fact that we look at this entire list, and every single one of these games, I'm not going to read through the entire list here, but there's got to be, at least 20, if not 30 games listed here, not counting the Xbox, the ID at Xbox titles.
Oh, man.
Over 25 games that we will not have to pay a dime for. A dime more.
10 bucks a month, right?
Right. We're not going to have to pay another extra dime on top of what we're already paying.
The fact that the new Halo can cost you is $10 is insane.
Right. And we could talk about that too. I will say, I watched that trailer streaming. I was not impressed with how it looked.
I'm gonna pipe in real quick because I did some research on this.
You can pipe in anytime, CB. You're on the show, just so you know.
Oh, I know, but specifically this because I had a feeling this was gonna come up. I've actually been reading a lot into this. It was on an Xbox, not the Series. It wasn't. It was a PC demo, not on the Xbox Series X. 2, they openly said it was an old build. It is not what is going to be released.
Which is the excuse every time a demo disappoints, by the way.
Understandable. But then I can't remember the gentleman that I was watching that did this. He showed demo footage that they used at E3 of Halo 3, Halo Reach, ODST, and they all looked kind of crappy. And then he showed side-by-side comparison to the final product, and it looked a lot better. So I'm not writing this game off simply based on looks. I'm just excited that there's some new Halo stuff coming. I'll play through it. I like the story.
That's how I am with Halos. I play Halos like I play my Modern Warfares. I love to play through the campaign just because it's just dumb fun to me, and I don't mean that in a downplaying kind of way. Especially with everyone crapped on Halo 5. Was it Guardians? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that was not a good game.
I played it in co-op with 3 other people, and I had a blast. Just going through, just shooting stuff. It felt like...
You don't care about the story?
I don't remember the story. I remember...
That's not a good sign.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I wasn't... I don't remember the story of most of the Modern Warfare games I played either, but I had fun with them in the moment.
Right.
You know, that's
Sure.
how I look at Halo games. They're not long-lasting effects, but it's a fun, however many hour romp, especially when you get to play co-op with people.
I look at it as
Borderlands is one thing, but this Halo's like a linear Borderlands to me.
Yeah, see, I could not disagree more with what I go to Halo for.
Well, you're more invested in the lore and everything than I am.
Yeah, but Halo Infinite looked fine. It looked like Halo. I don't know.
Open world? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, but again, we already knew that, right? So like, it wasn't.
Did we? I didn't know that. That was news to me.
Oh, they pretty sure they announced it as open world.
Chief has a grappling hook now.
That's what the Infinite. Yes, every video game needs to have a grappling hook now. That's the rule apparently, as dictated by a gamer law. Even Ghost of Tsushima has a grappling hook. Yeah, but it really made Master Chief look like Doom Guy. But the game looks fun. I mean, it's Halo, I'll play it. Halo 5, did disappoint pretty profoundly in its story. And I don't think 343 makes a shooter feel anywhere near as good as Bungie. But at this point, Halo is really just... I play them until I see the next cutscene with Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like. But open world Halo could be cool. I mean, it's already... Even the first Halo, the best levels were the ones where you get the Warthog and drive around anyway.
Oh, yeah. Although, I remember Halo being the first game where I had to drive a vehicle the way that we are familiar with driving a vehicle now.
Yeah, I feel like where you point to the camera. Didn't Halo invent that?
I think maybe because I was so used to just pulling the trigger for gas in every other game, and that one was where like one of your sticks was the accelerator and one was, to point your view, basically. Right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Anyway.
I want to be excited for Everwild, but I'm still not entirely sure what it is. And, see, another Psychonauts 2 getting delayed. What a bummer. The Medium looked cool. Looked like Silent Hill.
Yeah, but it's also not the first time we saw that one, right?
Right. But that looks so much like Silent Hill that I was like, if I was Konami, I would be concerned. The dual
anyway
thing.
Hey, new Forza Motorsport. I'm excited for that. I love the Forza series.
That's good.
And of course, because it's been a while since I brought it up, I got to see Tunic.
Yes. the I think the ID at Xbox may have a lot of hits in there. Tunic being one of them, of course. What is Lake? See that game Lake where you play like a delivery person around a lake?
Yeah,
that looks super cute. It kind of gave me a little bit of Shenmue vibes. Just exists in this town.
I give them credit. There's one thing that Xbox does right. It's those indie games, man.
Yeah,
I love them.
PlayStation has abandoned indies, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Obviously indies go there because it has such a bigger install base, but it really feels like Xbox cares about them.
Yes.
Well, and that's the thing is like I've been rooting for Microsoft for obvious reasons. I've been a fan. I want them to succeed. But they're doing what we've wanted them to do for games for how many years? Everything that we saw in this entire presentation is going to be on Game Pass. And the argument is, well, they're not doing a good job of selling the Series X. I feel like Phil Spencer was setting us up for that. Before this, the days up to it is like we're trying to make the service as attractive as possible, and it's something that gamers have been begging for forever, and they're giving it to, and everyone is just crapping all over Microsoft now because they didn't see the games they wanted, which I understand is the argument.
It is disappointing that there was nothing like fist raising about this, presentation. Like, that's disappointing. When you go in with E3 expectations, you expect applause and uproarious, crowd excitement, but there's nothing here that did that. There was some stuff where you went, that looks cool, but that was about it.
It definitely proves the point that I said a few months ago that without there actually being an E3, the mentality and just like the reception doesn't feel the same.
I agree.
Like everything just kind of feels like, yay, games. Like the cancellation of E3, I feel it was just devastating for this year for gaming, because rather than getting everybody pumped in 1 week for 2 new consoles and a crap load of new games, we're all sitting here watching computer screens like, awesome, guys.
Well, the majority of us did that anyway. We all watched G4 on our computer screens.
But there was still a crowd that got, roared up, or there was the stage presence, or, oh my god, Keanu Reeves is here.
Mm-hmm.
There was still kind of, and one more thing, all that excitement.
Oh man, I missed that. I missed the one more thing.
Me too.
The grandiose, presentation just isn't there. It feels lackluster.
It's much like G4, Scott, and where YouTube, these YouTube gaming shows are all well and good, but there's just something missing with that studio atmosphere.
It's fair enough. Anyway,
however,
we beat that dead horse. Oh, you got more? Sorry.
Yeah, if I can just beat this dead horse for a second. One of these guys need to freaking pick a date and a price, not just Xbox, PlayStation as well. Like, we were about to enter August. These things are coming out in November. You have got to announce a price. You have to stop playing this weird game of chicken with people's wallets and expectations. You need to commit.
I mean, at some point, I feel like I'm going against what I said earlier. Xbox is not giving a lot of incentive to purchase the new console, even for me. I feel like if I weren't on, this show and trying to keep up with the new technologies and everything, I don't know that I would be buying an Xbox Series X at launch. Actually, I'm still considering it.
I agree with both consoles if it wasn't for the show.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with the PlayStation 5 at this point, because that is the console that's going to have experiences that I can't get with the other console. Whereas anything at launch, I can play on my Xbox One. It won't look as good. It won't run as fast. The loading times won't be as nice. But PlayStation 5 is the console that is going to have the experience that I can't have anywhere else. So at the moment, it kind of looks more attractive to me. Which I know sounds weird coming from me. But at the same time, I'm still going to keep my Game Pass subscription. And I'm going to enjoy trying out all those games. I mean, look at... I've got Xbox Game Pass now, and Carrion came out this week. A game I've been looking forward to playing. And I downloaded it, have not started it yet, because there's just so many other games to play right now. It's a good problem to have.
Sure. One we've had for a few years now. Right. But yeah, Game Pass is just getting better and better. Bigger and bigger games. Think about that. You'll get a game probably the size of Skyrim with Avowed and not have to pay a penny for it.
Yeah. And I know that particular game may not interest somebody. I feel like there's something on this list for everybody. I mean, they did everything from the cutesy games to the hardcore games to the tentpole games like Halo. Resurrected some old franchises. I've never heard of this Stalker series. That's a new one to me.
What?
I never played Stalker.
I mean, I haven't played it, but I've heard of it. I wanted to play it for years.
What's the other one? State of Decay 3. I have no interest in, but
people are going to lose their mind.
Somebody out there is going to be real excited about that. Several of these games just looked really cool. Crossfire X.
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, it's made by Remedy, right? Like, I thought the trailer looked pretty forgettable, but Remedy's making it, so I will play it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's not on Microsoft for a trailer that Remedy put together that may have been underwhelming.
It's like, a military shooter. Like, it's kind of weird. You see the Remedy logo, you expect something weird, you know?
Right. Well, we'll get something weird. It's just, I don't know.
Honestly, of all these games, the one I'm surprised that Scott didn't talk about at all is Tetris Effect.
Yeah, it was. I kept trying to bring it up and I forgot, but I have the superior version of that game because that game is incredible in VR. My first thought when I saw that trailer was like, oh, is this a precursor to VR coming to Xbox in some capacity? Because if any game is begged to be played in VR, which I know doesn't make sense for a puzzle game, playing Tetris in VR is great, especially if you got some good headphones. But yeah, I'll pick that game up again. I really like that game a lot and earned some achievement points. Why not?
Yeah.
It's a fun game. We got to move on. Very quickly, I will just say I wanted to talk about the PlayStation Plus games. Modern Warfare 2's campaign, the remastered version. That's a game that I've had my finger on the trigger for like a while. And now that I could potentially just get it by having a PlayStation Plus membership is cool. Not a whole lot of interest in Fall Guy Ultimate Knockout. Although I think Zach brought up earlier that that game is a launch title.
Right, it is launching on PlayStation Plus. So its release date is its PlayStation Plus date. Trying to get after that Rocket League success.
Seriously, look at Rocket League. Rocket League was free on PlayStation Plus on the day it launched. Everybody downloaded it, right? And now you can go buy it. Although they're bringing it back, they're making it free to play.
Right, but it is still
the ability to,
a phenomenon that sold 4 million copies or whatever, 5 million copies. Like,
right.
That's no joke. That wouldn't have happened without PlayStation Plus. And you look at all these freaking games coming out, like even EA's Rocket Arena that came out a couple weeks ago. That came out at $40. It's already on sale for $10 because nobody bought it. Because the expectations with these kinds of games now are a low barrier of entry. Fortnite, Rocket League started it. Fortnite secured it. Like these games, the barrier of entry is now, it's not free. I guess I'll play something else.
Well, and I think that a lot of these developers look at it as, well, if I make a game free, then I got to either do microtransactions to make it back or whatever. Not necessarily. Make it free to play for the first month. Let people get a taste of it for free.
Yeah,
and then let word of mouth do its job.
I went to check out Rocket Arena because of the identical art style to Fortnite. I assumed it was free to play, and then it wanted $40. I was like, no, never in a million years am I paying $40. I just want to. It's a multiplayer game, which are everywhere right now, everywhere, and free and great. So if you want me to play your multiplayer, you're gonna have to give me some incentive to try it out.
Right. And I understand the catch-22 with the developer because everybody hates microtransactions, but everybody also hates paying $40 for a game that, so what's the happy medium? I don't know. Not everybody's going to do it as well as Fortnite. It's just not going to happen.
Right. But I mean, the success
Apex
of these free-to-play games kind of prove that people don't hate microtransactions as much as they say they do.
Right.
Would you have picked it up if it was $20?
See, in this instance with that Rocket Arena, because the art style is obviously, just taken whole hog from Fortnite, and it's all about rockets and colorful characters and stuff, my expectation was absolutely that it's going to be free to play. So even $20, I probably would not have. $10, maybe. But even then, I know... The trick is that I know Apex Legends I love and Warframe I love, and these are both free games already that I'm invested in. I want to try out Rocket Arena, but, it's going to have to hook me in 5 matches or so. That's just the reality of my time and the market.
Do you think the answer is a timed allowance to play the game?
I think what you said was smart, yeah. Like some kind of, hey guys, for the first month, Rocket Arena is free. After that, it's going to be $10 or even $10 because then you can just flip it on people like, well, I'm in it, so I guess I could pay just $10 for it.
I wasn't even thinking a month. I was thinking your first 5 or 10 hours of gameplay is free. That might
not be bad either. They used to do that on PlayStation 3.
Right.
Where they would have their exclusives where you could just download the whole thing and you get to the first hour for free, and then you could decide from there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool system.
Bring it back. I'd be down for that.
I think we should bring demos back, too.
Final Fantasy VII kind of proved you should, I think.
Mm-hmm. That game did very, very well.
Yes, and they cited the demo as one of the reasons.
Yep. So why aren't we doing that more? Is it that expensive to make those, I wonder?
I think for a lot of games, it is. People get excited. For Red Dead 2, people are excited for the game. But if they played a demo for an hour and they're like, oh, it's more of a simulator than I thought, they might get turned off.
But
if you don't put out the demo and you're Red Dead 2 and you have the biggest hype machine ever, everyone's going to buy it. Cyberpunk 2077 does not benefit from a demo. Neo 2 probably does. You know what I mean?
And that game is already sold. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
You don't need to market that game anymore. Although, could you argue that Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't need to be sold anymore either?
I think you had to win over those stalwart fans of the original who didn't want the remake or were, a little how could it ever be as good? And then you play the demo and you're like, oh, it can be as good.
Right.
That's how we reacted when we played the demo, Scott.
Oh man. I wanted to play through it again the first time.
All right, I feel like we went from cautiously interested in Final Fantasy VII to, oh, that was best game of E3.
Yeah.
Just that demo.
Really was. Okay, well, let's move on. We are an independently funded podcast, which means that we do need to pay for our podcast hosting services, website, all on our own, which is why we have a Patreon page where fans can contribute monthly to help offset costs of production, as well as allow us to give back to the community in big ways like we did with our copy of Paper Mario. Congratulations, Nick. So if you'd like to help us out, you can do so at patreon.com/thegocast. And we hit a milestone this week, which means that once a month we are going to be streaming our episode recordings live. Nate has been working fervishly on putting something together for us. So I believe we're going to be streaming it on YouTube and exclusively for our Patreon supporters. And there'll be a chat that they'll be able to connect with us while we're recording and kind of interact with us. So looking forward to that. I believe he said not this coming week, but the week after, the first podcast recording in August. So looking very, very forward to that. We got a couple different levels. One's at $3, one's at $5. $3 level will get you 1 bonus episode a month. $5 will get you 2 bonus episodes a month. And then we have a higher tier that offers you some coupons in our Go shop, as well as some other benefits. CB, what's currently available in terms of bonus episodes right now?
Well, let's see. We have our spoiler cast of Last of Us 2, and I know it's live now, but our Dirty Games episode with Scott, myself, and Christina. Forewarning, do not let your kids listen to this.
Yeah, the F-bombs were flying on that episode, and we talked about some pretty nasty
things.
Stuff.
You talk about Custer's Revenge, right? So, like, you definitely cannot have kids listening.
Yes. That wasn't the only one.
Yeah, there was more. There was more.
There's a lot of dirty games we found, and some borderline uncomfortable moments because it was me, CB, and Christina sat down and we made her play these games, and 2 dudes and a girl sitting down. If someone had walked in on what we were playing, it would have looked like an awkward situation. Let me put it that way.
You guys were. Never mind. I won't make that joke here.
All right. What about anything upcoming?
Upcoming, I know our drunken game trivia is coming back.
Yes, someone's going to challenge you.
Yeah, I have to defend my title.
Yes.
Against whom?
I don't know who yet, because Scott wasn't up to par.
No, that's because you let me drink during that episode. I would have won otherwise.
Well, it is drunken.
I drank too.
Yeah,
I am. I'll be the champ. See, the problem is, guys, it'd be like Jeopardy. Ken Jennings went on a 72 game streak. If I did drunken game night, the problem is I'd be on every episode because I'd be so undefeated. That's the problem.
That's fighting words. I guess next month we're gonna have to do one with just the 2 of you.
Well, the joke, of course, is as soon as you just start the retro game questions flying, I'm done. So that's
see, that's a big part of it. So. Yeah. Anyway, if any of those episodes sound intriguing to you and you'd like to help us out, head over to patreon.com/thegocast, and you can sign up to become a Patreon today. With that, let's jump into the games we've actually been playing. Zach, anything good coming out this week?
Oh man, right off the bat, you have Ageless coming to Switch and PC on July 28th, where you play as an incredibly depressed person in a platformer. I hope Celeste made this a genre. That would be fun. Destroy All Humans, the game where you play as the alien abducting people in the 1950s, gets released on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia, July 28th. I looked up a trailer. This thing looked surprisingly sharp, this trailer.
I played it.
I'm sure we'll hear about it. Yes. Obsidian's newest game, Grounded, comes to Xbox One and PC July 28th, where you play Honey, I Shrunk the Kid-style survival game. Maid of Sker, which we're going to hear about shortly as well. PS4, Xbox One, PC, July 28th. Other Side, which is a tactical role-playing game, like Final Fantasy Tactics, which has been released to absolutely killer reviews today. Comes to PS4, Xbox One, and PC, July 28th. That's a game has an incredibly striking art style. I recommend you check it out. Pistol Whip coming to PSVR, July 28th. Throw that in there for CB, of course.
Play Pistol Whip.
Is it fun?
It's real good.
Okay. Oh my god, dude! It is. It's like Beat Saber and what's the other
Super
game?
Hot? It looks a little Super Hot.
Yeah, it's like Beat Saber and Super Hot had a baby. I played it the first time we were playing it on the Rift over here. I think
the Quest.
Stoy, was it your Quest or I thought it was Stoy's Rift?
Oh wait, yeah, it was Stoy's Rift.
And I played one round and I was sore. It is one of the most active VR games I've ever played. It is so much fun.
That's awesome. All right. Skater XL, which, trying to fill that skate void, coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, July 28th as well. Hellpoint, coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, and Mac, all on July 30th. Liberated, which looks like a comic, it's a 2D game where you liberate a city, but is presented in the form of a comic book where you hop panels and stuff. Comes to PC, July 30th. Castlestorm 2 comes to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, July 31st. And then finally, incredibly popular hit anime Fairy Tail gets another video game adaptation for PS4, Xbox One, PC, July 31st. What's catching you?
I mean, I already mentioned it, but Pistol Whip, since I don't have access to CB's Quest as often as I would like, I think I'm going to pick it up so that I can play it at home whenever I want to.
I've already pre-downloaded Grounded.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
See, I was sold on that game until it was like a survival game to me. So I felt a little bit more turned off, but I will look into it.
It really, I love that that kind of game with the size disparity thing. Like, I don't know if you played as a Mushroom Men or Mushroom Wars on Wii and DS. Those games are awesome because of that, and it really intrigued me. But yeah, then as soon as they were like, it's a survival game, I checked out. But for me, other side, man, it looks the visual style where everything is just white, black, or red, like, is incredibly striking. And then all these reviews talking about how great it is. My only concern is tactical RPGs are usually quite lengthy.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, we got plenty to keep us busy. Plenty.
Never a shortage of video games, just like Neon Abyss, which you've been playing, Scott.
Oh,
which
my goodness, Zach.
Said, you sent me a text saying that, they made a game just for you.
They did make a game just for me. Well, here's what's funny, is Jeff Swan, who was a former guest on our show, I don't know if you remember when he was on. He was awesome. He posted something that said, on Twitter, I think he said that this is the perfect game for Binding of Isaac fans. And I blind bought the game straight up on Jeff's recommendation. He and I have very similar tastes in games. And I said, I'm going to buy this game. It's $20. Going to give it a shot. And then I found out a couple hours later that Neon Abyss is available on Xbox Game Pass.
Hey, you know what? Give him a sale, though.
I did. So at first I was very upset because I just wasted $20. I have never been so happy to make a mistake like that because I am 100% happy to support this developer that made Neon Abyss. I am madly in love with this game and I cannot put it down, to the point that I was frustrated that I had 2 other games that I had to review because I wanted to play this and nothing else but this. So, what is Neon Abyss? You've played Binding of Isaac. I know you don't like it because there's far too many poop stuff going on in that game.
Yeah, does not do it for me.
There's no poop in Neon Abyss, so you can rest assured that's great. This is not a top-down dungeon crawler. It is a 2D side-scrolling dungeon crawler. So think like a Rogue Legacy, but with the Binding of Isaac level of absurd weapons and armor that you find along the way. I mean, down to the structure is exactly like Binding of Isaac, just in a 2D format. So you've got the treasure room that's going to have some extra weapon. You're going to have the rooms that are filled with enemies you have to clear out. You're going to have some that are hidden behind a slot machine type thing. You have to manage your coins. You have to manage your bombs. I mean, but it is so much fun. And the beauty of these roguelikes is finding that one combination of weapons that just absolutely works for you and makes you feel like a god as you're going through it. And I've had 2 or 3 different ones that felt that way, and it was so good. Here's what this game does different that I found really cool. It gives you a password as soon as you start a run, which is completely randomly generated. The map is randomly generated. The item placement, everything is randomly generated, but it provides a code for you. And you can write that code down and go back and enter that code back in, or share it with a friend and they can enter it back in and say, hey, this run I had was really a lot of fun. I had this awesome lineup of weapons. You can go back and re-experience that run again.
That's awesome.
Which is something I've never seen done in a roguelike before.
I was going to say, I remember Worms used to do that for randomly generated maps.
Yeah, okay.
Where it would also punch out a code and you could save it if you love the map. That's a really cool feature.
It is, especially with how random this is. I mean, a map is one thing, but this is the map and the weapons that you get, and how some levels are going to be more coin heavy, some are going to be more grenade heavy. There's always these moving parts, and you can just kind of go back and re-experience it or share it with someone and say, hey, I had this really cool run, go try this one. I just think that's awesome.
I'm kind of curious about that. How long is the code?
9 or 10 digits.
Okay. Because I'm just trying to wonder, if it's truly randomly generated, how many different rooms they could make.
Yeah, you make a good point, because Binding of Isaac felt 100% randomized. Like it just like you threw in whatever happened that round, and that's what you get. This one feels like it's a bit more forgiving, that some of the items you'll get marry each other a little bit better than they may have in other runs. So I feel like the algorithm's a little bit different. So it may not be nicer. As randomly. Huh?
Sounds a little bit nicer. Like to
Possibly.
The player.
It's still difficult. I will tell you, it's still difficult. It took me a while to get used to the controls because they actually have the jump button on the left trigger, which it doesn't make any sense when you first start playing it. Like, why am I jumping with the left trigger button? But the game acts as a twin-stick shooter.
Yes, that actually
in a 2D really environment. Smart. It took me about 2 runs, and it's now second nature, and I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how quickly I adapted. So, cannot recommend Neon Abyss enough. You're on Game Pass, Zach. I know I've been trying to find that roguelike that you like for quite a while now. I don't know, man. Give this one a shot. It's pretty fun. It's pretty rad.
The trailer looked pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie. Rad seems like the word for it too.
Yeah, it's very 80s neon themed, as the name would suggest.
Yes, absolutely.
It's there are 5 bosses, 5 main bosses that you have to beat, and I've beat the first 2, and I've done, I don't know, 20 runs, and it's just so satisfying. The bosses feel like shmup battles, CB.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bullet hell going on, but the patterns are such that you can actually beat a boss. Them. Yeah, you can beat a boss without getting hit if you know the patterns. Like if you memorize the patterns and all that, you can. Not saying it's easy, but they actually make a point of it in between one of the messages that they give you. You know, this game it is possible to not get hit. But
okay.
I love Neon Abyss. If you were on Game Pass, no brainer, try it out.
Okay.
But don't give up on it after one run. It's got a lot of moving parts. There's so many different things going on. I forgot to talk about this. One of the things that happened is you find eggs along the way, and then the eggs follow you, kind of like in Yoshi's Island. You know how you would swallow the eggs, and then you have like the 6 eggs, but they're much smaller.
They become ammunition.
And then randomly, huh?
And they become ammunition in Yoshi's Island.
In Yoshi's Island, they become ammunition. In this one, sometimes when you clear out a room, one of the eggs will hatch. Now, the egg could have nothing in it and could be a dud, or it could turn into a little helpful little creature. One creature may block bullets for you. One may attack other enemies. One may go around and gather coins for you. Like it's all completely random as to what these little guys will do. But there's an achievement I got for collecting 50 eggs in one run. So you can imagine how many of these little guys are following me around and how chaotic the screen is. It actually gets difficult telling what's friendly fire and what's not at some points, but it never gets too overwhelming. It's a bizarre, joyful game to me. This is going to make my top 10. I don't know if I can put it on my top 10 because I feel like it's been on PC for a long time, but I'm not certain.
You can. It just came to Xbox today. Come on, calm down.
I'm just saying it's going to be hard to edge this out of a top 10 somewhere on the top 10.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's your list, man.
Mm-hmm.
You just give yourself so many rules.
Yep. So Neon Abyss, it's also on Switch. Great portable game. Pick up and play.
Yeah, sounds awesome. If only Game Pass was on Switch.
Fingers crossed, man. We got the rest of the year. Hopefully that'll happen. Let's see. CB, you've been playing Maid of Sker, and I don't know if we're pronouncing that correctly.
Scare.
It is Scare. Maid of Sker, but it's spelled Sker. This looks like a horror game, but I have no idea what the story is from the trailer. What's going on with this one?
So you play as random dude who's going to save, I'm guessing it's the love of your life, who's trapped in a hotel by her father. I'm working my way through it. So the story's kind of interesting. The hotel apparently was supposed to have some grand opening, and she was supposed to be the main act at the hotel, like a ballroom singer.
Mm-hmm.
But something happened, and all the people there went crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the gist of the story. man, I was really excited for this when I first watched the trailer. I'm playing through this now. I'm not happy.
Uh-oh. What's wrong?
This game has quite possibly some of the worst controls I've ever played in a walking simulator.
Which seems like a hard genre to mess up the controls for.
Yeah.
But I would have said that about tactics games as well, but then I played Element Space.
They are sluggish.
Like you're walking underwater?
Walking underwater, but so with most walking simulators, things are hidden around the room. You got to point at them, click them. This, you'll be dragging your cursor, and because your vision follows with it, but you stop, and then it feels like it goes for another second. So
okay.
it seems like there's this horrid delay.
That sounds maddening.
It is. It's taken me a while to get used to it. I'm not sure if it plays into it. It took me about a good hour before I ran into the first enemy of this game, which is basically I'm just hiding from them because the villains in this game cannot see you. They their faces are all covered and they hunt by sound.
Yeah, it looked very Amnesia from the trailers, and that sounds an awful lot like Amnesia.
Yes. On top of that, it's this is a horror game. I love horror games. This is not scary. And there was a couple points where they tried a jump scare, and it was just kind of wow.
Is it a ghost story?
No.
Okay.
People went crazy. And you're walking around this hotel Resident Evil style looking for things to solve a mystery.
When you say Resident Evil style, are you saying finding keys and solving puzzles?
Yep. So far, I've seen a harp key, because everything is Gaelic oriented, a harp, and man, I said, I just wanted to be excited about this game, but so far it has been quite possibly one of the most miserable experiences I've had in gaming in a while.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that, man.
So, yeah. And granted, I'm not all the way through the game yet, but so far the gameplay has just been miserable. And I want to like this game because I you know me, I give anybody who makes a game a fair shake.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. There's 4 keys to unlock the final area. I've found 2 of them so far. This is probably the first game that I've played that I'm I just can't wait to be done with this.
Oh wow. I am sorry. I'm very sorry to hear that, man. That's a bummer. Maid of Sker, definitely not for Chris Behrensmeyer.
You could say it's not Maid of Scares.
Yeah, definitely not.
Is scare a play on the word scare, or is it?
I'm guessing that's what they're trying to do. But the hotel where everything takes place at is Hotel Scare.
Oh my god, that's a little on the nose.
Yeah,
I feel like that really tells you about the tone of the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that something just turns a corner and it gets better. Okay. So, because
maybe it'll just have a legendary plot twist.
Maybe I'm hoping. So
we'll have to hear more about it next week.
Yeah. So speaking of games that don't really pique my interest, this one kind of does. Tell me about Destroy All Humans, man, because I played the old one.
So you did play the original Destroy All Humans?
Yes.
Did you, Zach?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was. I feel like it was a huge hit back.
It wasn't, but it was a game that eluded me for some reason. I never played it. I could not tell you why, and that was kind of why I was eager to jump into Destroy All Humans, just because I want to see what everybody was talking about. And the first thing I noticed, you kind of alluded to this when you mentioned you saw the trailer, Zach. Yeah. I would, if you put this game in front of me and showed it to me without me actually playing the controls, I don't think I ever would have believed it was an original Xbox game. I think it was on PS2 as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it might have skipped GameCube, but yeah, that's what struck me about the trailer was that it's not a remaster. It's one of those remake but it looks like like the Spyro kind of shot for shot remake with better graphics.
Yeah, it's clearly just better graphics and maybe some polished gameplay mechanics. I'm assuming. Again, I haven't played the original. It looks really good. I'm not saying it looks realistic or anything, but it looks like a current game. I was shocked by how well this game looked. The humor is very evident. The character you play as it gives me a Jack Nicholson vibe.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I can see that.
He kind of talks with that swagger in his voice, and it cracks me up. And I don't know. I was expecting more just running around, just zapping creatures, and I feel like each mission is a little bit different than that. Like some, you have to go around and zap some guys. There's some time missions which made me cringe. I have to see how many cows I can abduct in a certain amount of time, which is funny. Like you have to avoid the the people in the area that are shooting with shotguns and the cops and all that. There was one mission where I had to go, and then again, I'm very early on in this game. I had to infiltrate a state fair and assume the body of a person to be able to blend in, but then I had to keep scanning other humans to keep up my disguise. And eventually I had to find the beauty pageant queen and lure her back to the spaceship, which felt creepier than it probably did 20 years ago when this game came out.
There's definitely some creepy moments in this game.
Oh yeah, they talk about probing quite a bit.
Oh yes.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. I felt like it was fun for the hour or two when I started, and then the formula started to get old a little quick for me. Now, if you loved the game back in the day, maybe the nostalgia will rub you the right way, but I don't know. I felt like the story wasn't like, you're not playing this game for the story. You're playing it for the absurdity of it, right?
Yes. Right.
And that's kind of my opinion on it from 2004 or whatever. Was that this is a fun idea stretched too thin, and then they made 2 sequels, which I never bothered with.
Right. Which I feel like the 10 or 12 hours of this game might be too much for me. Like I don't
all the destroy all humans I needed.
Right. So it's fun. I'm more impressed with how good the game looks. I was not expecting this game to look as good as it does. It looks very crisp. Not expecting that at all. So again,
it looks remarkably modern.
It does. Destroy All Humans. I've been playing it on the Xbox One, and I believe that comes out tomorrow, which is Tuesday, on Xbox.
If I remember, it's just a lot of dumb humor that does kind of wear off quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll scratch that.
Yeah, the probing joke wasn't funny the first time, let alone the 52nd.
Right.
But Sky, you've also been playing because no one can stop you, man. You're the juggernaut.
I know. Well, I had plenty of time, right?
Making masks and playing video games. You're playing Heroes of Hammerwatch on Xbox One. Tell me, is this game as boring as it looks?
I will be honest. I did not get very far with this one for a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't get it till late in the week, and number two, it came out, or I got it about the same time I got Neon Abyss. So I almost feel bad reviewing this game right now because of how much I love that roguelike. I just am in love with that game, want to play nothing but that, and then I come to this, and this felt like a step backwards to me. Heroes of Hammerwatch is it feels like an open world RPG version of a roguelike. Let me explain. It's a twin stick shooter, but it's very pixelated, like 16-bit graphics type of game. And it is so easy to get lost in this game. I swear. I don't know what it is. There are so many moving parts in this. There are so many shops, people in the towns to talk to, just like in a JRPG. And I gathered that I was supposed to go to a mine at the beginning to help clear out a mine to help the town. It took me forever to figure out where the mine was. I went to a desert where the enemies clearly overwhelmed me. I went to another place. Just everywhere I went, I was overwhelmed with enemies that were just beyond my level. I finally found the mine and it felt manageable, and I made it through. and I died, and I just did not feel like going back to it. So I'm going to play more Heroes of Hammerwatch. I'm going to give it a fair shake because I think there is a gem there hidden. There's something about it. It feels like Gauntlet. Do you remember, like the fighting in Gauntlet to me was never fun. Like the original Gauntlet, it was fun to explore everything, but it just felt like there was just so many enemies. It just felt like I was just managing hordes of enemies in a twin stick shooter, and the graphics remind me of that because they're very rudimentary, and I don't mean that disparagingly. It's just not. It's not crisp looking. It's very, very heavily pixelated.
Okay.
I feel like I would like it a lot better if I hadn't just come off of one of my favorite roguelikes I've played this year. So I need to give it another fair shake.
Fair enough.
If you say so. I mean, that trailer looked boring.
I'm not going to crap all over it until I've done more than one run.
I'm not trying to crap. I'm giving my
No, I'm saying me. I'm not saying you are either. I'm just. My point is I almost feel like I maybe should have waited till next week to talk about it, but I needed to get something out there. So I'm going to give it a fair shake after I step away from Neon Abyss a little bit. Because
if you can.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really difficult. The problem is that they really make you feel like a nobody at the beginning of this game in terms of a good roguelike gives you those successes early on to have that carrot on a stick for you. This game doesn't do that.
And you would know as the expert of the genre.
I don't know if I consider myself an expert, but I felt no incentive to keep going. You want that one thing that you find along the dungeon that makes that dungeon feel awesome. This one just gives you a bunch of stuff to go back and purchase, and there's so many things to purchase, you don't know where to start. So, a little disappointed at the beginning, but
I think you're definitely a roguelike connoisseur.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
You're the guy.
Well, we'll see. I'll talk about it more next week. But I got one more review I want to share with you guys. I sat down and talked to Joel Solinsky from our writing staff, and he played NASCAR Heat 5. I'm not a big NASCAR person, so I let him talk to me about it. You'll hear that review right now. All right, I'm here with Mr. Joel Solinsky from our contributing writing team. How you doing, Joel?
Good. How you doing, Scott?
Not doing too bad. Thanks for being here. You were going to be talking to us about a game called NASCAR Heat 5. This one comes from developer 704 Games, and we got to give a shout out to Sandbox Strategies for hooking you up with a copy of this one. Thank you very much. Now, Joel, I'm going to be honest, man. I know absolutely nothing about NASCAR. You are obviously a fan. It sounds like you've been following this series after reading your comments on the game in this series on our Discord channel. What makes NASCAR Heat such a special series to you?
The one thing I really like about this, Scott, is it's the real drivers, the real teams, the real sponsors. The tracks themselves are real places for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's just fantastic to me in that aspect to play something that really looks like what it's representing.
Okay, very cool. Now, this is the fifth one in the series. What sets this one apart from the other four, and is it worth the $50?
So that's kind of a mixed question. It is worth it to me as a fan. And if you're a fan of NASCAR and understand how NASCAR operates, I would say it's worth it at that point. If this is your first racing game or you're just into casual racing, this may not be the one for you. One of the things that I found interesting is there are no tutorials or helps as far as setting up your vehicle. So if you don't know how to change spring loads and gear ratios, and you don't want to change camber and caster, and you're not sure what that is, it's going to be difficult without doing some digging to find out exactly what those changes do to the vehicle.
So basically, if this is your first time playing a NASCAR game, this is not the one to start with.
No, not if you're not familiar with how to change things. Now, that being said, if you want to do the research, you can really get in depth into this and have a lot of fun with it.
Okay. Now, if I am a fan of NASCAR, is this what makes this one worth playing?
The biggest difference it has from last year's, for instance, is the inclusion of a test session where you can make some changes to your vehicle, throw it out on the course, see how it handles, immediately go back to the garage and make some more changes, and then save that as a load.
Okay. Now, when you actually are racing, how are the mechanics feeling? Because I'm used to things like, Forza Horizon and Gran Turismo. Is it that level of realism?
I would say it's easily that level of realism. The thing that got me on the Xbox is you can tell it's not running at 60 frames per second. It's running 30-ish, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that takes a little bit away from it. Especially, I was playing this on a 1X, so it definitely should have the horsepower to run it at 60. That being said, at 30, the graphics do look good. It does feel like a good sense of speed. The track looks good. The vehicles look good. The one thing I really, really enjoyed is the AI drivers don't act like typical AI drivers where they need to beat you, so they cheat. They make perfect corners. The AI felt extremely fair, even when I cranked the difficulty all the way up.
No rubber banding or anything like that in Mario Kart?
No.
That's good to hear. So it sounds like you recommend this for enthusiasts of either NASCAR or the previous games in the series, but not necessarily for newcomers. Do I have that right?
Correct. Unless you're willing to do some research and really understand how to adjust it, I don't think you would get the most out of it that you could without doing your own custom car setups.
Gotcha. All right, Joel. Well, thank you so much for checking that one out. Look forward to your written review in the near future, which everybody will be able to read on thegamingoutsider.com's website. And, man, it's good talking with you. It's been too long.
It has been, Scott. Good to be here. Thank you.
All right, we'll catch you later.
All right, see ya.
All right, thanks again, Joel. Anything else you guys been? I know you guys been playing more Ghost. I keep saying Ghosts of Tsushima.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue so much better.
But you guys been playing more Ghost of Tsushima, I assume. Anybody beat it yet?
Not yet.
No.
Oh man, I was really expecting CB to say yes.
I was as well.
I took a little break from it just because I had some other things going on personally this week, but I am clamoring back into the game. I'm well into the second act, and this game is so beautiful, man. I just can't get over that.
I mean, you're talking visually or controls, everything, the whole package is beautiful, or what?
Yes, really. The way everything controls and plays, and I've even been switching on Kurosawa mode more, which just makes me really, really happy.
It's good. I started it. I did not get very far, not because I wasn't enjoying it. I just got distracted.
Did you get out of the prologue?
Just about. Or, okay. Yeah, like I didn't get to like an actual open world yet. I hear that the game is just like you see a fox and just go chase it.
Yeah.
When you get to the open world, I finally decided it feels like Breath of the Wild. That's what it feels like. In terms of, the game does not give you a lot of hints. You just kind of play it very naturally. It gives you the feeling that I don't get in a lot of modern open world games, where when you find that fox den or that pillar of honor or whatever, that village, it feels like, oh, I bet not everyone has found this.
Gotcha.
Like, it feels like you're really uncovering an area.
But there's that much stuff on there. It feels like I'm the first person to have come across this.
And even whether or not it's dense, it's just like sometimes you find something like there's no hint that there was anything there.
So you don't there's not like a marker on the map that you like. That's what I like. I like following a marker on the map.
No.
Well,
no, not really.
The
the fog of war. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, CB. There's a big fog of war that you're uncovering, and it'll put question marks on your map if you something crosses your eye line. If you don't see the eye line, then you just don't get the question mark. But you can talk to villagers, and they'll kind of fill you in on stuff happening in the world as well. But it's not like you enter an area and it says, here's the 6 side missions. You have to actually find the side missions.
I don't know if I like that, but I will report back.
I
think it's awesome.
The fog of war definitely makes it fun, because you can look at your map and be like, oh, I haven't really touched this area yet. I can go kind of meander over here for a little bit. The side missions in this game just make this game so worth it.
So you just kind of do whatever you want to do. You just you feel like you have some freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is helpful because the main story I don't think is particularly gripping. I just finished Act 1 for what that's worth. I think the villain's got a lot of presence, which is nice, and I would like to see more of him. But in terms of the story itself, it just kind of feels a little ho hum. But the side missions, much like The Witcher, I guess, right? Or like the main story is solid, but it's really the side stuff where it comes alive. And there are a couple named characters who you hang out with, and they get quest lines that extend into different regions and stuff, and that's the best stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Quick note: this isn't going to be spoilery, but with the slight twist that happened towards the end of Act 1, Zach, did you also feel that was pretty predictable?
Yeah, I mean, it felt, of course it was. Yes, there was no other way it could have gone down.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
it were.
Yeah.
But it's just, but it did lead to a super cool duel, so that was nice.
Yes.
Let me ask you guys
But
this,
it does...
because one of the things that bugged me at the beginning, and I hope that this isn't the case, is that your character like refuses in the training, opening sequence or whatever. Your character refuses to stealth kill anybody because there's no honor in killing that way. Does he get over that, or is that happen throughout?
What I actually, I don't want to give too much away, but I will say so far that's the most interesting part of the plot to me.
Okay,
is Jin learning that, it's great to be honorific and live the samurai life and go be a Jedi in feudal Japan, but that's not how you're going to stop an invading force of this size. You're going to have to
engage,
put that aside, and and honor means different things to different people, which is cool. Like the one of the most interesting characters is Yuna, who saved you, who is teaching you to self kill, and there's a nice little dichotomy between the samurais you're palling around with, going like, how can you hang out with a thief like that? But then Jin going like, I don't know, I mean, she saved my life, and we wouldn't have saved these people without her. So maybe there's more gray area than we really think there is. And I hope they play into that more as the story goes along, because that, I think, is the most interesting stuff. So to answer your question long-windedly, yes, Jin gets over it.
Okay. Good to know.
But and I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people online getting mad, like, oh, the game punishes you for stealth killing. But I don't think it does. I think the message of the game is like, warfare is dirty no matter how you play it.
Interesting.
Which I do think is cool. And also, I just found out today that the more you do self kills, the more often it storms in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I don't think it really punishes you, but it definitely guilt trips you.
It does at the beginning, but I think it makes sense because, so you'll get flashbacks to Jin being told, you can't do, that's terrible. But I feel like that's part of the journey of Jin letting it go. Is like, it's going to be eating your guilt at first, but then, as you do it more often, he doesn't care. Because even when you're self-killing in the beginning, he'll make comments of like, I'm sorry, this had to be done this way, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then when you get to 20 hours in, he no longer cares.
And
that's kind of, I think that's
I'm
cool.
going to have to get into this game, apparently.
It's really good.
It's freaking awesome,
It's really good.
It's so good. And I know I love when games get cinematic and everything you do in this game feels like it could be framed as a movie. Everything.
Okay.
It's great. Even when you get in a hot spring, it feels like I'm watching a samurai movie.
He is a spicy boy.
Oh yeah. Parts of them are, you know what I'm saying?
It really
You see Jin's butt.
Yeah, you see his butt a lot.
Oh, do you?
You see a lot of Jin's butt.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
It's a fine butt.
Okay. Yeah, when you made the sale, stop selling it.
I will really say this game is really making me question on where things are going to fall for my games of the year.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going with that after the butt discussion.
No.
I definitely thought it was a sexuality exploration.
No.
And I was like, that's fine. Hey, good for you. But yeah, no, it's been a good game. It's been a good year.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, these are all
Resident Evil 3.
Absolute bangers. Yeah, Resident Evil 3 is great. It's not up there with these three.
No.
And I don't know what else coming out this year, but yeah, definitely one of these three is going to have to be my game of the year for sure.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We have some new Facebook members to say hello to. Again, our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/thegocast. We got a new member over there by the name of Kiefer Frenzy. Did I pronounce that correctly? Frenzy? Also, our Discord server, we've got lots of good conversations going on over there. There is a link to our Discord server over in the show notes. I want to say hello to Sonia Raynamard and Enterplaz. Welcome to the group over there. No new iTunes reviews, but if you'd like to help us out and get the word out there for us, head over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a review, let us know what you think of the show, and we will read it on the show for you. Also, on our website, thegamingoutsider.com, we've got all of our episodes as well as all of our reviews, including Rel's video review of a game he talked about last week called Necro Barista, that somehow he sniped out from under Zach, because I totally figured Zach would play that game. But he did.
It looks right up my alley.
It does, although, did you know it was an Australian developer?
No, that's interesting.
Australian developer. It totally does not look like an Australian game, but
it looks like a Japanese mainland hardcore.
That's what I thought as well. And he seemed to like it quite a bit, even though it is very story-driven. So check out his video review on the site over there. Let's go ahead now and jump into our From the Outside In topic. We've been talking a lot about Spider-Man Miles Morales. We learned this last week that the highly anticipated game for PS5 is going to give the players options in regards to how it looks and plays. Specifically, it's offering a quote-unquote performance mode, which will play the game in 4K with 60 frames per second, but will lack ray tracing and other rendering effects. Now, we've had the great frame rate debate on an episode in the past with the old crew, but to my knowledge, we've not had a chance to sit down with you two to discuss actually in one of these topics about what's most important to you in video games. So, if given the option, would you rather have your game play in a 60 frame per second minimum state, sacrificing some of the graphical fidelity of the game, or would you rather keep the cool new features like ray tracing and play at a lower frame rate? Zach, let's start with you.
Right off the bat, I just want to get into the listener comments because it's really going to set me up here. So Thomas Beck says, story trumps everything. Which is A, not answering the question,
Thank
Thomas.
you. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But B, sets a little bit of my tone because my real answer to this question is I don't care. Mm-hmm. But I also want to bring up what Amber Olmstead Lily says. I'm going to go with frames. Most people aren't going to notice ray tracing unless there's a side-by-side, but frames are super noticeable. But the new system should be able to do both. Because I just want to say the side-by-side thing is people who prefer the graphical fidelity always say, you can never tell frame rates unless you're looking side by side. And the people who prefer frame rates always say, you can't tell the difference in graphical fidelity unless you look side by side. The real answer is, you can't tell either unless you're looking side by side.
I would agree with that.
It is an illusion in your head to make you pick one side of the camp or the other, or to justify your PS4 Pro or your Xbox One X. That's what it feels like it is. And Amber is absolutely right. They should be able to do both on the new systems. The fact that we're already choosing is absurd.
I will counter a little bit on the frame rate because
don't you counter me.
Just because I'm sure you
shut up and smile.
No. I'm sure you've played games where all of a sudden the game will chug heavily and you're like, "Oh, this is pretty miserable watching a game lag."
You're right, but the question was framed as 30 is going to be the constant base.
Yeah.
And if a game is 30 locked or 60 locked, like I didn't know Bayonetta was a 60 locked game until somebody told me.
I didn't.
Okay.
Know.
Yeah, like it's not something I notice or care about, or when they do a definitive edition re-release, like for DMC Devil May Cry, it was everyone was so annoyed at the base game because it was locked at 30 frames a second, and they did the definitive edition and locked it at 60. I could not tell the difference, and I have always felt this way, and I can never. I always want to tell the difference.
I am the exact same way, man. I feel like there's something wrong with me because I can't tell the difference.
See, and I agree, and I think it's less that I think there's something wrong with me, but it feels like everybody else thinks there's something wrong with me.
Right.
If I can't just tell the difference and feel immediately. But I can't.
Well, I've had similar discussions with friends about movies. Like when I got my 4K TV, actually before that, when I got 1080p, and I showed him a Blu-ray, and he's like, "I can't tell the difference between a Blu-ray and a DVD." And I was like, "How can you not tell the? I just did not compute to me because it felt so clear." And when I hear people talk about 30 versus 60, or if you're a PC player, 90 or 120. They're like, how can you not see it? And I feel like I'm missing out. It frustrates me because I want to see the difference. It's not that I'm like refusing to see the difference.
Yes,
and I just want something else instead. I feel like there's something wrong with me.
I am totally with you. It's never fun to be the weirdo on the outside. It was not a good. I always use a reference of it was not a good feeling not liking the first Avengers movie.
Right.
And everyone else does. And everyone else loves 60 frames per second. I would love to love it too. But I'm not just going to say I do, and I just can't tell the difference. If I had to pick one or the other, I would actually probably pick graphics, just because a better lighting system, I guess, is more interesting to me than 60 frames per second. But I'm also playing most of my games for story and setting and narrative before I'm playing for game feel.
And if that's the case, then the ray tracing and lighting effects will make more sense because they're going to make you feel more immersed.
Right, it might frame the cinematography better, But Dark Souls is a game I love for the gameplay first, and it routinely dropped down to like 15 frames a second, and I still wouldn't say that it affected me. Like, it's still one of my favorite games ever. It didn't affect me that negatively,
right.
Like,
no, I will say I do notice it when it chugs like that. When a game feels like it's jumping or lagging or something, of course I notice it.
Right.
But when I'm in something that people are claiming is locked in at 30, I don't notice the difference between that when it's like Mario Galaxy 2 was a 60 frame per second game, and I didn't know that.
I was today years old when I found that out.
Again, this is what somebody told me, so I did not look it up and verify it. I don't know how to look it up and verify it. Is there like a what do you call it? The press kit? Does the press kit show the frames per second? Where do you look to see what the because we don't have the little gauge in the front of our consoles to be able to see what the frame rate is, right?
I think on PC there is software to know what the frames are,
but we can't do that on our console.
But then to me, if you're downloading that to check, that isn't that kind of proving you can't really tell anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was going to get into the fact that with a lot of these, you don't really notice until you actively go looking. Like,
yes.
I wasn't running at 60 frames per second. I was running at 55. Does the game look all right? Does it play all right? Cool. Then to me, like, I don't care.
See?
So
I mean, I think that's the general consensus here, but I think we also it does matter to some people. Just because it doesn't matter to us doesn't mean it's not important to others. And again, maybe the three of us are just lacking that piece of our brain that allows us to see the frame rate differences. I don't know. Or
maybe I'm allowing my brain to fill in the gaps.
Maybe, I don't know.
How many times? Okay,
you know what's
the only reason I bring that up is how many times do you remember looking back in your memory about a game that you played 10, 15 years ago, and you're like, this game looked amazing, and then you go back and play it, and you're like, this game looked like trash.
Mm-hmm. Well, even
you know what I've never thought about for an old video game is, boy, that frame rate was sick. I never think about that.
No.
I want to know how. I really want to know what that feels like. I feel like there's something wrong with me. I'm missing something about why I can't see that. Maybe I need to like do some side by sides and see the difference just to do that, because I've never done that.
And Digital Foundry is a great resource for that on YouTube. Those guys are pro. Those people, I believe, can just see the difference of frames with their eye.
Well, I mean, that's like their lifeblood at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they do for a living. But see, I mean, CB makes a great point about old games. You know, you think they look great in your memory because graphical, even, you know, frame rate is one thing, but graphics are rather fleeting. You know, by this time in 6 months, something will look better.
Yeah.
So I've never understood the chase for technical fidelity.
And don't get me wrong, I absolutely appreciate the people that love, like, I get great frame rate, or the people that love, like, hey man, like, there was 1 billion polygons in this image. That's awesome. I'm glad that you like that. I'm happy for you, because it's gaming. It's what you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like, it's not a super high priority for me. Like, for me, if I had to choose between frame rate or something really pretty, I'll take frame rate. because I want a game that plays good. I'm a retro guy through and through. Everybody knows this. I don't need a game to look super beautiful for me to have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, go ahead.
The most annoying one, this question always makes me think of God of War, because it had a performance mode or a resolution mode, and I wanted to play in resolution mode, but it ran like crap. Like, it was 20 frames and less routinely, and to me that was like another like, it's like, why did you give me the choice at all when you know there is an incorrect choice?
Yes,
drives me nuts.
I mean, that's kind of a good point too. If there is a choice, then there's clearly not a one beats all answer.
Well, that's also frustrating, and I don't want to step over your comments later, so we can save it. But the fact that I'm choosing a Miles Morales, it already is. Boy, I can't wait to buy my PS5 Pro. I'm already ready for that now. Because it's clear these consoles can't handle the games already, apparently.
This actually just hit me now that we were just sitting here talking about the, like, I'm going to boost how everything looks. I don't really remember that being a thing until you could take screenshots in games. Like, oh man, I think this looks really pretty. Let me boost the image quality real quick so I can take a screenshot.
Just for that moment to take a picture and then dial it back down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, isn't the clear answer here if you want both? Because like Amber said, why not both? If they're the new consoles, they should be able to do both. And all the PC people are being like, you can over here. Just come over here and you can do that. At a cost.
I like my controller.
Huh?
And my UI. I like my controller, my UI, my ecosystem, my trophies.
No, I'm with you.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm saying that's the answer we would get from the PC people. And again, not knocking them.
All of it, the frame rate people, the graphics people, the PC people, it all just screams us everybody having to justify their purchase over somebody else's.
Unfortunately for the PC people, a lot of the games that exist on console unfortunately don't exist on PC.
And vice versa.
Not if Microsoft has anything to say about it, apparently.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been blending it. But for me, looking at some of the community comments, like Kevin Honigford, I've never paid attention to either of those. I guess frames would be more important to me because whatever I'm playing, laggy moments suck. I completely wholeheartedly agree with this statement because, again, if I can't have fun playing a game because I'm so focused on image quality that I'm willing to sacrifice play quality, like that just drives me bananas.
But what's the last AA or AAA game that you played that had lag issues like that?
Control.
I guess Control didn't it?
Yeah. Control had some laggy moments, but I still
Control. Yeah.
I still love
Control.
that game.
Routinely would do the thing where like the game almost froze and then caught up to itself,
like super speed motion to catch up.
Yeah, like fast forwards past the explosion you just caused. Yeah, but you know what? There's another proof, like that one Game of the Year awards, right? Like that, it didn't matter.
Didn't matter. Not to a lot of people anyway. Mattered to some, but
that's because the story was so good, though.
Yeah,
gameplay was good too.
Yeah,
it was. Really...
So I mean, there are those games out there. God,
take control.
The Gaming Outsiders Game of the Year 2019.
God, I had a couple moments in Final Fantasy VII that kind of lagged up when there was a lot of stuff on the screen.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes.
Which again, the game's super pretty already. Like let's throw as many different things onto the screen when you're casting a magic spell to make it look even more pretty, and watch everything slow down.
I feel like some of us are more forgiving with stuff like that, especially if we're a fan of either the franchise or the platform. Then we're very forgiving of it.
Scott, real quick, because I was thinking of you this weekend. Final Fantasy VII, how everyone said that it must have really been pushing itself because of all the corridors you squeezed through. and I said that they were just there to give you a variety in your walking. Ghost of Tsushima does the same thing. It's not loading anything; it just makes you squeeze through rocks.
But didn't you say you had a problem with it? No, it wasn't you. I was talking to I think Troy, who said that it was distracting, that he had to crawl through these tight spaces all the time.
You know,
gotta love those.
This might be a better off mic conversation, but it just made I was thinking of you while I was playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Aw. I miss you too, Zach.
Whenever I saw Jin's butt, I was
wow.
All right, Owen Wilson, you got another comment you want to do, or?
Wow. Yeah, Jordan Derringer High, same thing. Frames. Doesn't matter how good the game looks if it chugs.
And there's some truth to that. If you can't play it, you can't play it. That's just the laws of gaming.
So, I mean, granted, with games like Horizon Zero Dawn, I love the way it looked so much. So, I mean, there's trade-offs. There's times where I want a game to look really, really pretty. And then there's times I just want the game to function properly. So it sucks.
I hear you. I had a comment from Jeff Swan I wanted to share with you. He says, my answer to this question is don't release the game or console if we have to choose between the two, because this is kind of the entire point of a new console. If we're going to have to choose like this, already out the gate, every game is going to look like a PC graphics menu by the end of this generation. And at that point, it really does start to defeat the purpose of having a console. I thought this was a pretty good point.
He's not wrong.
Because that's why we have a console. Because we don't have to choose.
That is the number one reason I have a console is because I do not want the headache of playing against a PC.
Now, some people will say, well, you have the freedom to do whatever. Okay, if there's two modes, that's one thing, but that opens the door for sliders in my console, and I don't want sliders.
It's also why I prefer iOS over Android. Just give me the thing and make it work.
Right. Yeah. Some of us don't want to mess with it and jack with it. Right, CB?
And some people do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make anybody better than anybody, for the record.
Whatevs.
Anyway, another one came from Chip Halt. He said, I'm in the graphics camp with the caveat that frame rate is constant. And I thought this is a really good point. I truly have no problem with a game that's locked at 30 frames per second and looks fantastic. On the other hand, a game that boasts 60 frames per second and drops during intensive, which usually means a boss fight or other big event, actions drives me nuts. That with the fact that I love coming across breathtaking set pieces. Whatever the FPS is, keep it consistent. I think that's key. Commit to a frame rate and stick to it instead of going up and down. It would save us all a lot of headache, yes?
Yeah.
Also, the other point I kind of wanted to add to this, he said, you actually mentioned it too. We the three of us primarily play games for stories. We don't play a lot of multiplayer games at all. I mean, on occasion we play some Apex. You've been playing Warframe, right? Is that considered a multiplayer game?
Absolutely, 100%.
Right. But we don't play Fortnite a ton. We don't play. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the Blizzard game off the top of my head. The name is this Overwatch. Thank you. I was trying to say Oxenfree for some reason. That's a completely different game. We don't play these multiplayer shooters. Those are the games where, if I were into those, I would rely on frame rate. Because you have to have that consistent high frame rate in order to be competitive, right?
Right, and it has to be consistent for everybody.
But since we play games for story, going back to Thomas's point earlier, that trumps everything. In that essence, the story really kind of leans more towards graphics for us because the graphics are what envelop the story better for us. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why graphics is, because a lot of the games I play it's taking me on a journey, and I feel like they can better represent that journey when they can frame the cinematography of their shots, or you can do a breathtaking vista before a samurai sword duel.
Right. Yeah.
And having a higher frame rate is not going to affect that the same way. More graphic detail.
Oh, hey, you know what? I almost forgot. We got a voicemail this week.
Ooh.
Would you like to hear a voicemail? This one comes from CJ Moore. I'll go ahead and play that for you right now.
Go, Pack, go! Oh, crap. Wrong podcast. Oops. Yeah. Well, this is CJ coming at you from Flagstaff, Arizona. I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in on graphics versus frame. And I really thought I would go graphics. But the more I think about it, even if you have gorgeous graphics, it could still look like garbage if you don't have the frame rate to keep up with it. So I'd have to go frame rate, because there are games that look good that don't have super high tech Unreal Engine graphics, but yeah, there are games that look good that just throws you off with bad frame rate. So yeah, hopefully all the new gen consoles have the best frame rates, and I can get a good TV to match them. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for the podcast. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
We love you too.
Yeah, no, man. Thank you for the podcast.
Yes, thank you very much. That reminds me, for our future episodes, if you would like to leave us a comment, you can do so at area code 347 746 2278, or easier is 3477 GoCast. Thank you, CJ, for that one. What did you guys think of his comment?
CJ, he somehow reminded me that I miss cell shaded games.
Like we keep talking about Borderlands, Beautiful Joe.
Sure, Borderlands. Yeah, I was thinking Beautiful Joe, or the 13 remake that's coming out. Games, because I don't know, something about his question about thinking about graphics first, but then I'd rather it run differently. Not everything runs on Unreal Engine, I think, was the trigger. Because when I think about Sony's first party, they all kind of have the same art style. They all are going for the technical fidelity of the world. Even like something big and bombastic like God of War with all the mythology, it still looks like it's trying to recreate our world. And I do miss games that swung a little harder on their art style.
That's an interesting point. I've not considered it that way. Well, thanks, CJ, for the message, and thanks for all the comments from everybody. I know we've kind of had that discussion before, but it felt relevant with the news about Miles Morales, and you guys all know where we stand. We like our stories. We like pretty graphics. And
you know what? I would rather take like 100 bespoke animations. I would rather they put their time into that. Like one-off animations, or so just a character like raises their hand across the bar while they're walking past or something. I'd rather have 100 of those moments than either frame rates or graphics, if we're talking about the tech.
So there was a game that we didn't mention when we talked about the Microsoft Game Showcase. Was it As Dusk Falls? With that really crazy looking art style. Did you see that one?
I know Sable stuck out due to its art style. I don't remember As Dusk Falls as much now. Oh wait, yeah, I remember that. No, yeah,
like paint,
because it almost looked like still paintings.
But it was obviously like filmed with real people or something like that. But it looked like moving acrylic paint or something.
Yes, I appreciate they took the shot. That didn't do it for me particularly, but Sable did.
Sable does look pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That was a fun topic. I think we all... do we get definitive answers? You said frames.
I'm a frame rate.
If you had to choose one or the other, Zach, where are you going? CB went frame rate.
Graphics,
and I'm graphics too. So that's where we land, but...
So CB's better than us. That's the answer. CB's
we also don't hate anybody that has a difference of opinion, so make that clear. Not, hey, you won't talk down to us, we won't talk down to you. That's all I'm saying.
I love you all.
Love you all too. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Gaming Outsiders. Zach, any parting words before we get out of here?
Hey man, I just checked out the show Samurai Jack on HBO Max.
I've never watched it,
and I can't imagine what spurred me into that. But I'm kidding. It was Ghost of Tsushima. It is excellent. And I have Seven Samurai queued up as well. I'm going to watch that. But Samurai Jack is a very good cartoon.
Is Seven Samurai streaming anywhere, or do you have it purchased?
It's on HBO.
Oh, is it? Okay. I've never watched a Kurosawa film, so that's the one to watch, right?
Ooh, that is definitive Kurosawa.
Yeah.
That feels like it. Scott, I was telling CB this last week. It was the very first team-up movie in history.
Okay.
Where a gang comes together for a common cause. It was the very first movie that ever did that.
Interesting. I like it.
Isn't that wild?
How old is that movie?
It feels like the 1951, I think.
Yeah, it's 50s. Man, there's like a copy sitting on the shelf over here behind me.
It's funny you.
Well, it's just wild to think of all the Marvel movies, and half of them are about a team coming together,
right?
And it's just wild that like it all goes back to Seventh Samurai.
That's interesting. It's funny you mentioned HBO Max because I dove into that rabbit hole a little bit too. I went a completely different direction than you did, though, because I've never finished the Big Bang Theory seasons, and I unashamedly love that sitcom, and so I'm working my way through that. But one of the things that they consistently talk about on Big Bang Theory is Star Trek because of Sheldon's love for Spock. So I went back and watched the first movie in the Star Trek reboot, and that movie still holds up really well.
It really does.
It's exceptional.
It's so good.
I can see why Star Trek fans don't like it, but it's a hell of a film.
Hey, I'm a Trek fan through and through. I like that one. Into Darkness is really good. Beyond was a bit of a stretch for me.
I did not finish Beyond. That's
I love all three of them. I don't care.
Yeah.
I thought they were all great. I love the end of the first Star Trek though, when he gives the bad guy is like, you can surrender. If you accept our terms of surrender, we can rescue you from the black hole or whatever. And the guy's like, I would die before letting you save me. He's like, okay, and then just walks away.
That's sending you a present.
The reaction of both him and Spock just like turn around like simultaneously and just like, all right, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good movie.
And
how am I not gonna watch that?
He's played such a good Kirk, man. There were some moments where I felt like I was looking at a young William Shatner.
Chris Pine, my Hal Jordan in my heart.
So good.
Ooh, that's a good.
Is that on Yeah, he would be very good, Hal, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would.
Is Star Trek on HBO?
The first one is, yes. That's the only one that's on HBO, and I think I
would assume they were all on
the
CBS.
Second one on iTunes.
The rest are all on CBS Access.
Oh, okay. So they're there too.
Into Darkness's only problem was that Khan didn't do anything wrong.
No.
Yeah.
I've never been more like in line with the villain's thing. He just wanted to save his people, and the Alliance wouldn't. The Federation wouldn't. Like what? Yeah, of course. You could easily frame that movie as him being the hero if he had more screen time.
The Benedict Cumberbatch Khan was really good, but I'm always going to be a bigger fan of the Ricardo Montalban.
Well, that's regarded as like the best Star Trek movie of all time, right? I mean, it's hard to. That's not like a hot take you're giving right there, man.
I know, but Benedict Cumberbatch was real close for me.
He was good. All right, CB, what about
the problem with him being Khan was all the interviews where they're like, so he's Khan, right? And everyone was like, no, we wouldn't go that route. But then everyone was like, but he's got to be, right? Like it's pretty clear that he's going to be playing Khan. No, and then he was.
It was that moment in the film when he says his name. I am Khan. Everyone in the theater was like, "Oh,
surprise!"
Yeah.
Well, since Zach is going to be watching like Seven Samurai, I'm gonna go back and watch an old samurai movie too. But I'm gonna watch 47 Ronin.
I've heard of that one too.
The Keanu?
Yes, the Keanu Reeves samurai movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that you just sold me, even though I've never seen it. That's all you had to do.
Yeah, he's a.
It's not that great.
He's a universe. No, it did not look that great, but it does have Keanu. Yep. So.
All right, well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. The Gaming Outsider is produced by Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemmage and Metroid Net Metal. The website for him, if you want to follow his music, is stemagemusic.com. That's STEMAGE music.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.